All right, everybody, I am back with a brand new review. Today I'm going to be talking about The Penguin Episode 7, which is the episode before the finale that is going to premiere next week on Max. And there are some things I'm learning about the Penguin in this episode that I'm not really happy with. And we're going to talk about where I think this is headed and some things that I see that are a problem for the show. Now, I do want you to know before I get into this that, yeah, I'm going to make some of these things sound pretty negative. But overall, I'm really enjoying the show. But this episode seemed like it didn't necessarily jump the shark for me, but I'm learning things, like I said, about the Penguin that are not in line with the character in the comic, and it's really starting to bother me a little bit here. So first of all, in this episode, there really isn't a whole lot that happens. In the last episode, we saw that Sophia had found Penguin's mom, and she basically takes her captive in this. And that leads to Maroni going to the Penguin, to his operations, and basically going there to threaten to take him to go back to see his mom in an effort to basically kill him and his mom to get them out of the picture. But when Maroni shows up, their guns a-blazing, and Maroni ends up having a fight right there with the Penguin, and they just start going at it, and then all of a sudden Maroni has a heart attack and dies, and that's when Penguin shoots him and says that he actually killed Maroni, and he didn't. What they're doing with the Penguin is showing that he's the luckiest mofo on the planet. That there's nothing conniving about him, that there's nothing calculated about the Penguin, that he just does things based off of emotion. And that isn't the Penguin from the comics. Penguin's actually quite a bit smarter than that. For him to be the kingpin of Gotham and to have his organization, he has to have some business sense. And in this, he certainly does not. He just gets lucky. Everything that happens to him is luck. It has nothing to do with skill. It has nothing to do with how he thinks. It's all just him thinking on the fly and having things fall his way, which is ridiculous because that is not the Penguin. So I have a big issue with how they're portraying the Penguin in this show. With only one episode left, I don't know how they're going to tie this up because at the very end of the episode, you find out that Sophia you think that she killed the Penguin's mom and is sending her into an SUV into the organization, down basically in the sewers where the Penguin is. And it's a bomb that actually ends up going off. Penguin barely survives. And the whole ground up above collapses. And you're telling me Batman's not going to show up in the final episode? That a bomb goes off in the middle of the city. There's an explosion in the middle of the city that levels an entire block. And Batman's not going to show up? You can't really have that happen. Basically, Sophia takes his mom to this. There's a lot of flashbacks in this episode, and be aware of that as well. You find out what actually happened to Penguin's brothers and kind of his mindset growing up as a kid. And that trails on to where Sophia is going to be holding his mom captive in the final episode. So during this, now, let me tell you where I think this is going to go. And this is why I think this is kind of a mess and that they're kind of messing with the story here. And I don't know how they're going to wrap it up in one episode. But Penguin tells Vic, go get an army. Go get an army and bring them. And the only way that Penguin is going to be able to get out of this is in this final episode. You got to remember a couple episodes ago, the Penguin did unite all of the kingpins in Gotham, all of the crime families, to go against Sophia and also Maroni. And that's who Vic has to go get. If he doesn't bring those people in, what's the point? We have to see that there's some loyalty to the Penguin at this stage because this is very much not his rise to power, not the rise to power we were promised. It looked that way a couple of episodes ago, but things have just taken a wrong turn. And I would say that this show is definitely more about Sophia and her family than it is about Penguin because he's taken kind of a back seat to her power, to how conniving she is. And so we're going to see what happens in this final episode, but I have I have a feeling that this is another bait and switch by Hollywood and that it's not what it was made out to be. And this is not the Penguin from the comic. That is for sure. And if you're not going to have Batman show up, completely unrealistic, guys. Completely unrealistic. So this is a thumbs down for me on this episode, but it's all going to depend on how the final episode ends up, how they finish this storyline. But I don't see them wrapping it up in one more hour. I just don't. I don't see how that's going to be possible. It is going to trail into the Batman 2, but we'll see. We'll see next week. I'll be back with my review as soon as it goes up next week. I appreciate the support. We will see you guys on the next video.